for us, every player's got the individual goal of going Division One. Every team wants to win the championship, so how do we get there? And to me, that how and that why and that explanation and that work that goes into it day in, day out, not just on the ice, how we carry ourselves off the ice.
Nick Bruneteau heads into his third season as the head coach of the North Iowa Bulls. He explains how important the summer was in preparing their athletes for the 2025-26 season on this installation of NAHL.
Well, I think busy, just like any staff at this point in the summer. A lot of evaluating, but also too a lot of helping with returning players, and that's something that we pride ourselves in, is the player development. And one of those things is giving these players a roadmap, and that includes summer work and adding to their arsenal and their skill set. And I think our players showed that at main camp, that there was a lot of big steps taken.
While talking about main camp, what has impressed you the most from the athletes you have seen so far?
I think the compete, I think that's something that's so important for this level. And I think if you look, whether it's free agents or tenders or draft picks, I think there was a really good mix at our camps of guys that were hungry and that showed and made an impact.
Absolutely. And you're heading into your third season as the head coach of the North Iowa Bulls. What are the lessons you have learned over the past 2 years as head coach that you're hoping to carry over into this upcoming season?
I think just the process. I think there's, especially in this division, I think there's a lot of really good coaches and tacticians. And I think from the staff all the way down to the players, it's about the process and winning the day. Making sure that every rep matters, and if we take care of the day to day, that the ultimate goals, getting to the playoffs, the things that every club in this league desires, I think those are much more obtainable, and they are when you respect the process and you win the day.
Absolutely. And looking at that last season's roster, it featured 8 athletes securing NCAA commitments. How does it feel as a coach to see your athletes get those opportunities at that next level?
It's awesome. I think development is the most important thing at this level, and for our players, it's so rewarding to see them go. And obviously you had you mentioned 8, and you look at a kid like Evan Johnson, who did everything the right way, from on the ice, off the ice, carried himself, worked very hard. So to see a kid like that get the phone call and rewarded with that opportunity, I think for not just myself but most of the coaches in this league, that's the gratification, and that's why you do it.
So over the past season, you've had a handful of age outs. What holes are you looking to fill for this upcoming season, and what can we expect from the North Iowa Bulls for the 2025-26 season?
Yeah, I think all 3 positions, are in play for, multiple reasons. Our scouting staff did a really good job of filling a lot of those holes, but, going into training camp, jobs are up for grabs, and I think that urgency is the message, and it fits into with what we want to accomplish this season. But as far as, where things and, tenders, draft picks, I think there's a lot of time to be, yet to be seen as far as who's going to win those spots.
Absolutely. And from your personal experience, you've played at the NCAA Division I level. How does those experiences carry over to you as a coach now?
Yeah, I think, it's different from the playing side to coaching side. You still get to compete, and I think that's what drives a lot of the coaches. But so much of it to me is relatability. And, having 3 brothers who all played college hockey as well, and we were all very different, I think that you see that your players go through and mirror a lot of these same paths, whether it's, they got scratched one night and how do they deal with that? And those more of those personal relationships that you can help advise them on, how to act, how to get to what they want, and the steps in between, and the days of maybe the old school approach of this is how things are and you need to do them. I think these players are much more inquisitive. They want to know why. They want to know their roadmap, and every single player's roadmap is different. And for us, we try to make sure we do a lot of meetings, individual one-on-one video, and it all goes to not just the team goal, but the individual goal that the player has. And for our players, that's Division I.
I know you talked about what other head coaches drive to coach hockey, but what drives you as a head coach?
Yeah, I think it's helping players. I think all of us in this league have played at various levels, and we all have good stories and we all have bad stories. And I think it's very naive to not think that at this age you have that you don't have an impact on these kids, and they won't remember. And I think it's, as little things as, when they're having a bad day, being able to talk to them, and obviously the reward of watching their careers and seeing, how far they can go, and watching them at the college level is to me is rewarding. And I think that's something that, obviously you still got to compete, but, the helping players advance is really the number one thing.
From your experience of leading the charge for the North Iowa Bulls, what makes the athletes a little bit different in the North American Hockey League than any other junior league out there?
Yeah, I think for that, you could look at it a lot of different ways. I think, for one, our league is very, very good with teaching players to play the right way. And I think that it shows at the college level with, what leagues these kids are coming from. It's a league where you can't cheat offense for defense, and it teaches you to play the right way. And for a lot of these younger players that we have in our league, it's helping get them ready not just for college, but to advance to Tier 1. And for our older players, I think it's a lot of kids that have been overlooked for various reasons. And I think so for them, to get that high end compete and playing the right way and learn to develop the right way, I think it's a league that I think could compete against any league. And I think even if you talk Tier 1, our league's older, it's heavier, and I think we do a really good job of developing players for the next level.
As you look ahead for this upcoming year, what are some of the main goals for the organization?
Yeah, I think everybody, if you ask, they would say win a Robertson Cup and go to the playoffs. And for our group this year, we really, really want to focus on the day-to-day. And I know I alluded to that earlier in this conversation, where for us, every player's got the individual goal of going Division One. Every team wants to win the championship. So how do we get there? And to me, that how and that why and that explanation and that work that goes into it day in, day out, not just on the ice, how we carry ourselves off the ice. I think for our staff, that's going to be the message for the players. And for our leadership group, I believe that's something that they'll accept the challenge and be ready to go.
Absolutely. And I know you said that there's a lot of jobs up for grabs, but do you have any returners for this upcoming year? And if so, how important is it to have those veterans in the locker room?
Yeah, we have a good mix. I think we have 7 or 8 guys that'll be back this season, and it's a close group. And anytime you hear that your players are all hanging out in the summer, it's usually a good sign. Depending, I guess, how you look at it. But close teams win in this league. And so for us to see that returning group set the culture, set the standard, and know what it takes in this league to have success, I think that's a major added benefit and a group that we're excited for.
How would you describe your coaching style?
I would say a very pro player. I think, our philosophy is coaching the way you want it to be coached. And for us, that's a lot of resources. It's a lot of video. It's the freedom to ask questions. It's the freedom to be who you are. And we encourage guys to be loud. We encourage guys to be their true selves. And I think that's how you maximize each individual. And it's something that from the team side of things, it only leads to more success as a group.
While talking on the player side of things, what do you think athletes enjoy the most about being a North Iowa Bull?
Yeah, I think this is a city that's had a lot of junior hockey history and a lot of success. And, when you play junior hockey, you want to have that junior hockey feeling. And Mason City does a great job of providing that for our players. It's a small town, but the fan base is passionate. Our players, they go into public, fans know who they are. People around town know them. And, getting that opportunity to play in front of, thousands of fans at home or on the road in our division, I think is something for these kids that, it's something in their lives they'll always remember, regardless of where their next steps in hockey are.
Absolutely. And as the season quickly approaches, so does the greatest show on ice with the NA Showcase. What are you looking forward to most once you're in Blaine, Minnesota with the North Iowa Bulls?
A lot of different things. I think from a coaching side, it's great to, get to see college coaches and other coaches in the league, and you get a chance to talk hockey, talk, about different leagues. And I think from that side, it's always fun for the staffs, and for our players, it's awesome to watch them get a chance to play in front of schools and have those conversations after the games. And I just think the the Blaine rinks, when you're up there in the showcase, there's just the energy's contagious. Everybody, there's just seems to be a buzz around the rink, and I'm happy our players get that opportunity, and the league does a great job year in, year out of providing our players that experience.
How important is it to get that exposure, especially early in the season in front of so many scouts?
It's huge, especially now with the way things are going with major junior hockey and opening that up to college. It's just another way for our players to get seen, and our league doing it when they do it. I think it gives these colleges a first look at them and to see and maybe to build that rapport with the player individually, whether he's 3 years from college or he's ready to go next season. I think it's a huge step for our players and their development and their goals.
And to wrap up this interview, reflecting on last season, what was one of your favorite memories with the team?
Yeah, I would say there's a lot, but we had 2 players last season get a chance to play internationally, and Fuji Suzuki with Team Japan and Sang-Yab Kim with Team South Korea. And for our players and for our coaches and the city, I think it was great. I know a lot of people around town followed them and followed those games, and any chance you get to wear your country's jersey and represent, I think is something that's awesome and important. So for us, that was something as a group that I thought was very fun to watch last season.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Nick, for taking the time to chat with me today. We'll see you in a few short weeks at the NA Showcase.
Thank you.